Hello, everyone. This is Eshtiak Ahmed. I'm from the Department of CSE, Daffodil International University, which is in Dhaka, Bangladesh. And here I am presenting our paper, which is named as Investigating the Level of Valence and Arousal Induced by Using Different Types of Pointing Devices. So let's get started. So here is the outline of the presentation here. So at first there will be a slide on the introduction of the topic and also the motivation of the work. And after that, there will be the methodology, which will include the experiment. After that, there will be some discussion, some detailed discussion about the experimental tasks. And also after that, we will show you the results and also the analysis of the results. After that, we will conclude the presentation, and on the last slide, you will have some key references. So let's get introduced to the topic. We know that the pointing devices are the primary medium of interaction between humans and computers, and according to our literature survey, so previous studies included that a computer mouse is more accurate pointing device than a knob. And also research on relative ergonomics of computer mice versus touchpads were published. And the topic we have here is because we could not find any research on the comparative pleasantness or arousal readings using different types of pointing devices. So there were, we didn't find any studies comparing these different types of devices like mouse, touchpads, or knobs. So we wanted to investigate how pleasant experience or can be doing a difficult tasks using different types of pointing devices. So here's the motivation. So as I mentioned before, that it was to study whether some of the most commonly used pointing devices were more pleasant and exciting to use than the others. And the 3 pointing devices we have considered in this study here, those are a mouse, a touchpad, and a knob. All are supposed to be connected to a computer. Either they are part of the computer, like the knob or the touchpad, and the mouse could be connected through a USB. And we also wanted to understand the level of pleasantness and arousal ratings for using different pointing devices while doing a task that is challenging. So the idea was to focus on the challenging tasks, because doing day-to-day normal tasks are not something we wanted to investigate, because they can be done quite easily with all the types of pointing devices. But there could be challenges when coming to some complex tasks, and there will be, we hope that there will be differences while someone is using different types of devices. So here is the methodology. So this was an within subject experiment, the design. And here we had one independent variable, which had 3 levels. So the independent variable was a pointing device, and the levels were 3, so mouse, touchpad, and a knob. And we had 2 different variables, which were dependent on the independent variable, which are ratings of arousal and valence. And after the tasks were completed in the experiment, a self-assessment mannequin, which is known as SAM, that questionnaire was used for measuring the dependent variables. And also the valence ratings were converted to a bipolar rating scale, which varied from -2 to +2. So negative is unpleasant, and positive going forward is pleasant. while 0 was the neutral evaluation. Also, the arousal ratings were converted to 0 to 4 scale. And the participants were split into 3 groups. Each group followed a different order for using the pointing devices in contention. So as example, if the first group used the mouse first, then the touchpad, then the knob, so the next group would not use the devices in the same order. So as example, they might use the knob first, then the mouse, and then the touchpad. Now, about the participants, there were in total 12 participants for this study, and which 6 were male and 6 were female, and they had an average age of 22, which ranged between 19 to 25. And all of them did have normal hand movement capabilities, and majority were right-handed. One thing we made sure here that all the participants had normal hand movement capabilities, because we did not want to introduce another dependent variable here. So if someone had problems with their hand movements, they would obviously be finding it difficult to use any type of devices, or maybe some certain devices. So we did not want that to we did not want that to play a part in our results. Now, the apparatus we used is a Dell Latitude 7440 laptop, which already had a knob and a touchpad as a laptop, and also the mouse we used was attached through the USB port. And we used an application which was the reaction test, was a free to access web application, and it's mouseaccuracy.com, which is free to use. The stimuli we used was randomly appearing, expanding, and then deflating red discs, and then the users had to click on the disc before they disappeared, and the stimuli continued appearing on screen for 90 seconds during the test. So a little more explanation on the stimuli on the next slide. So the task was considered to be a reaction test, and on the right side you can see a screenshot of the mouseaccuracy.com. So you can see that there are many red dots. So the idea is that there will be red dots appearing on the display, and they will keep increasing in size, and at after some time, at some point, they will start getting reduced in size and deflate. So the participants had to select randomly appearing red discs before they disappeared. For each pointing device, these tasks had to be done twice. So the first part was on the easy difficulty and with large circles for 30 seconds as practice. So we did this because not every participant was familiar with the tasks and how this works. So for 30 seconds, there was a trial period. And after that, on normal difficulty with medium circles for 90 seconds, that was the actual experimental task. So here is the step-by-step procedure of the test. So the first thing was to explain the idea to the participants. And it was used as a cover-up that this was a reaction test, not a Valence or arousal test. And we did this because if we had disclosed to the participants that this was a Valence test or an arousal test, their own evaluations would have varied, which we didn't want. However, they were informed after the test that this was not a reaction test, rather a Valence and arousal test. After that, the goal of the experiment was described to them, also explaining the principles of the reaction test and also the experiment. Then they filled the background questionnaire and consent forms as we are recording them, and also the first practice round was done at this point for them to be familiarized with the pointing devices. Each participant performed the task once with each pointing device. So for one participant, there were 3 tasks, one with the mouse, one with the touchpad, and one with the knob. And after the experiment was done, they fill out the self-assessment form for each task, and there were short breaks in between. And also, has to be explained that experiment was done in the quiet environment, and this was a usability lab, so there was no external noise that affected anything in the experiment. So here we have the data analysis. On the left bottom, you can see the normally distributed algorithm for this. And the experiment was within subject, as mentioned before. And the pointer device was considered as a factor. Here, Friedman's rank test for k-correlated samples used for statistical analysis, and pairwise Bonferroni corrected t-test used for post-hoc test when, when needed. Also, on the right bottom side, you can see the normality QQ plot. Here in the experimental result, in this graph, you can see the mean selection times of SEMs for the 3 pointing devices. Here you can see for the mouse and the touchpad, it goes from neutral to positive. So that means the rating of Valence, that means pleasantness, is growing, or at least it is in the pleasant side. That means the participants who were in the study had positive experiences doing the tasks using the mouse and the touchpad, while while you can see that the results of the knob, they are going downwards. That means people did not have a very pleasant time while doing the tasks. Also, for reporting Wilcoxon, the selections using the mouse were significantly more balanced than the selections using the knob. This was a significant result. However, other pairwise comparisons were not statistically significant. And on the whole, the whole data or information was statistically significant for the effect of pointing devices, as we can see from the values. Okay, to conclude that the results we got from our research indicates that knobs are significantly less pleasant than computer mouse, and also touchpads. We think that future qualitative research is needed to explore why users find knobs harder and less pleasant to use. Also, a long-term study would be useful to verify whether the disparity in usability comes from the device itself or from lack of experience on it, because as we recorded the tests, almost 80% or 90% of the participants did not use a knob before, but most of them used a touchpad before, and all of them used a mouse before. So this can be looked into. Also, one thing we have to mention that the test number of participants were quite less in this study, which is only 12. And if we had done the study or gotten the study with more participants, like 50 or 100 people, the results could have been much more significant and different or varied. However, we can clearly see from the results that the knobs are quite hard to use and less pleasant to use, at least in challenging situations. That's concluding our study. So here are some key references. So that's the end of the presentation. Thank you very much.